The following program is brought to you by Naleo TV, the People's Platform.
Aloha mai kako. I'm Ashley Kierkiewicz. Welcome to Voices of Aloha. I'm super excited about today's conversation. We're going to be talking about healing, movement, culture, and science, and how all of these pieces come together in service of our community. Today, I'm joined by Assistant Professor Arjun Ramani of the University of Hawaii at Hilo. He works in the Department of Kinesiology and Exercise Sciences. His work is helping to bring Hawaii Island its first Cancer Exercise Rehabilitation Facility, or SERF, and Exercise Immunology Lab. Professor, welcome to the podcast.
Aloha, Ashley. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the facility itself, I was really curious, what drew you to this particular work? Was there a moment, a person, or an experience that really shaped your focus on cancer and exercise and recovery?
I mean, throughout my undergrad, this was not something I'd ever heard of. So the concept of exercise and how to help people with disease was completely foreign. It was a foreign topic. And when I just happened to apply to a graduate program. And I got in, and then I figured out that there was this cancer rehab program that they had over there. And that seemed really interesting to me. And then I became a part of it. I applied for an internship over there. And it just became such a special part of my education.
Where was over there?
So this is in Colorado.
Okay.
I did my master's and my PhD at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, Colorado. When people ask about it, I try to describe our experience as how most people that get diagnosed with cancer, they have this moment where they feel like they have a limited amount of time left, and they are obviously very saddened by it. And our facility provided a huge service to change that perspective, where instead of thinking about how much time they had left, they thought, how can I make the most of this time? And they were able to have that realization because they were engaging in activity-based care and realizing that their body was capable of more than just succumbing to this disease. And so that was a huge moment for me. And that's what really solidified my space and my intuition to be a part of this career.
And so then fast forward to your time here on Hawaii Island, and your experience in Colorado at that particular facility. You came to the conclusion that our island would really benefit from something like this. What specific gaps did you see that you're trying to address?
So rural spaces are, they have a lot of predisposition to being affected by disease and the lack of healthcare that they have accessible to them. So this like supplementary healthcare, palliative healthcare is what we call it, is a huge piece of their progression throughout their treatment. And so Hawaii Island is a very rural place, and a lot of people have to travel to Oahu mostly to get their care. And if you've ever known someone that's been affected by disease, to coordinate that travel, get the money and the reimbursement for it through insurance and coordinate with them. And I mean, there's all the logistics of how there's a lot of conversation, a lot of correspondence that needs to be had in order to get that.
It's unnecessary stress at the end
Oh my
of the day.
gosh, so unnecessary. And so if we can eliminate that process of them having to travel inter-island to get their care, or at least have some aspect of healthcare over here that they could really benefit from, then that would be huge.
It would be. I want to talk a little bit about what exercise actually does for a person. And I think when folks hear the word exercise, they think fitness, they think weight, but that's not really what it's about, is it?
No, it's so much more than that. My favorite part about it is the accountability and the community that we have in an exercise facility, like one that I had experience with in Colorado, where if someone didn't show up or they weren't feeling well or they had something going on, right, everyone would notice, hey, where's this person?
They would check in.
Oh my gosh, yes. And that was so important, right? It kept people grounded and held together there. and held them accountable, right? And they came 3 days a week, every time for their session, no matter how bad they were feeling, how difficult of a time they were having, they still came and they put in work, and it made all the difference.
Mm-hmm. I want to dive into a little bit about the science of it. So can you talk about it in everyday terms? What is going on in someone's body when they exercise and they've just gone through cancer treatment?
So my background is in cellular and molecular sciences, right? So I did my doctoral work in exercise immunology, and so how exercise affects the immune system. And so when we think about exercise, we want to put it in the perspective of challenge, right? We're challenging our body, and our body responds to challenge, and it responds by adapting and getting stronger. And so every cell in our body has this ability to respond and receive this challenge and respond to it appropriately. And if we're not exercising, then we're not challenging our body. It never has this opportunity to expose itself to what could go wrong throughout its lifetime. And we're just giving it a acute scenario or a one moment scenario where it can respond to a challenge and respond appropriately in a way that it can adapt and get stronger.
In the one pager you sent me, you talked about a structured 12-week program. Why is it important for it to be structured and supervised?
Yeah, so there's this disparity in definition between physical activity and exercise. And so exercise is structured care, whereas physical activity it's not structured or programmed and individualized to the individual. So with exercise, I'm not sure. Could you elaborate on the question?
Yeah. So there's probably a particular kind of like training regimen that you want someone to go through so that when they start and they end, there's a particular outcome that you have for them in mind. Why is it important for this to be structured and to be supervised?
So we get this opportunity to track them each day and each week, right, and see how they're progressing. It's not just their like weightlifting numbers or their heart rate or how much their mile time improves or whatever, right? A lot of what we do is also catering towards their quality of life and their cognitive space, right? So part of our programming is using quality of life surveys, mental health, depression, anxiety surveys, fatigue surveys, right? We get to track how their fatigue and their depression and their anxiety is improving over each day and each week. And so this structured care gives us just an extra level of being able to track that, right? And that's meaningful information.
So we can dive into a little bit about the why now. So beyond just kind of running this training program, you're also studying what's happening at the cellular level. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially for folks that haven't really ever been in a science lab? Like, what exactly are you studying in a cell as a person is going through exercise, but also going through cancer recovery treatment?
So I spent a lot of time studying a particular cell in the immune system. They're called natural killer cells. And they are really good at surveying the body and finding what we call mutation. Right? Mutation is sort of a precursor to cancer. So if a cell has something going wrong, it's not operating the way it's supposed to, your natural killer cells are the first ones to roam around the body and recognize it and say, hey, there's a problem going on over here. And so they do this by, they produce these molecules inside its cell, in its cell body, called perforin, which is a pore-forming enzyme or a molecule. And so it actually like creates pores in mutated cells. And so those pores are really bad, and it causes stuff to like leak in and out, and that causes the cell to die. Right? So if a natural killer cell is going around and it finds a cancer cell, it will spit these pores out, these pore-forming enzymes, and it will kill that cell, right? It's a natural killer cell. And so with exercise, right, we can measure the amount of this pore-forming molecule it's making. We can measure how many of these natural killer cells are moving around the body, and if they're able to better do what they're supposed to do, which is recognizing and shooting out these pores to cells that should not be alive in the body, like cancer cells.
Where is this like research happening around the world? Because you're looking to do it here specifically in Hawaii Island, but like outside of Colorado, that one facility, like who else is studying this?
There's some facilities out in North Carolina that do some stuff like this. Washington and Oregon have some hospitals that do some great work like this. And then we typically see this in like the EU. The EU does a lot of like, they're pretty ahead of the time. So...
And will this change the way in which we are helping cancer patients sort of recover?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, aside from the like molecular science of it, the biggest part to me is that their quality of life is improving. Right. And if whatever we can do to help improve their quality of life, I think is the most important question. And so exercise seems to be really beneficial. And it's not just cancer, right? We can apply this perspective to people with diabetes and reproductive health issues and mental health and cardiovascular disease, multiple sclerosis, right? Exercise is a challenge, right? We're challenging the body. And so if we can challenge it in a way that's appropriate to the disease itself, then it makes all the difference.
That's so interesting. I mean, I don't know anybody that likes to work out. I personally hate it. I don't look forward to it. But I can tell you that at the end of my 30-minute workout with some heavy dumbbells, I feel like $1,000,000. I feel so much better. There's mental clarity. I don't feel as stressed out. And I just feel so empowered and on top of the world. So there's definitely something there to be said about just integrating that exercise into your daily lifestyle. I was curious about the integration of indigenous and nature-based practices into the institute that you're trying to build here. And I liked that you didn't frame it as an extra, but more so as like a foundation to the work that you're doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you wanted to integrate culture?
Yeah. So I want to first acknowledge that I have not been in Hawaii for a long time. So I need a lot of help understanding just how important the indigenous practice and the culture is here to people's health, right? So I don't have a complete grasp on this yet, but I do know it's important to people. And I do know that our daily activities are sort of one of the more important aspects of our health, right? If we are engaging in things that make us happy and that are culturally and spiritually rooted within us, this is kind of where we lack in Western sciences, is that we haven't really approached spiritual practice yet, and how influential it is in our overall well-being. Right? We've got emotional, physical health, but we don't really have an aspect of spiritual health that's been categorized in a scientific manner. So I think it's important that we bridge that, and that's kind of where I want to start at least. And I mean, there's all kinds of papers coming out now about ocean-based practices and how that incorporates itself into our wellness, or Aina-based practices where we're actually in the land and indulging in that and exposing ourselves to that, and how important that is to us as people and our wellness. So, I have a lot to learn, but I would like to start.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you're kind of trying to illustrate here about time in Aina, time in the ocean as medicine.
Yes.
And so it's very Western to prescribe a prescription, right? Some pills. It would be wonderful to one day prescribe, go surf 3 times a week.
Totally.
Right? Go work in the lo'i. I think that is such a fascinating concept, but it's also not new.
No.
It's what our ancestors have known and have practiced for generations.
It's funny you bring that up, because in Japan, they've been implementing this quite a bit, where they call it forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing, right? And so back in the early 2000s, maybe the late 90s, a Japanese academic, he was looking at natural killer cells and he was having people spend time out in forests, whether this was camping, hiking, or just walking around, right? And so he found that there was actually a pretty impressive increase in this ability of natural killer cells to do the things that they're supposed to be doing after this time spent in the forest. And so now the Japanese healthcare infrastructure, they can actually prescribe time out in nature as part of a prescription, as an intervention. And it's been so helpful for them. So it's being done all around the world, and we just need to bring it.
And nature is all around us here.
All around us.
When I was in Japan a couple of years ago, it was so amazing to see how much nature was still integrated into like modern and built infrastructure. That was so cool. And there were so many residents that were just out walking. I'll never forget the kupuna that I saw. Must have been his like 70s. He just got up out of nowhere, started doing some pull-ups, and I thought, wow, like it's really just part of their lifestyle,
Totally.
That wellness piece.
Yeah. I mean, I have a dog, right? So I think about this with my dog all the time. She just like, she'll get up and she'll start stretching, and how
Feels
often,
so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And how often do we just like, oh, I'm not feeling, something's tight, I'm not feeling great. My shoulders are pretty stiff. Like I could just get up and start stretching, but do I? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, right?
Yeah.
We have this opportunity to do it all the time, and
We do. Yeah.
we can.
So you're at UH and you talked about just the need for a stronger healthcare workforce and infrastructure. So what kind of opportunities do you think will open up for UH Hilo students in relation to the SURF and the lab?
Yes. So in this, we're taking this based off of the infrastructure we have at the facility in Colorado, right? Where it was an intern-based program. So we would have an application pool. Students, right? They could apply to be part of this internship. They'd receive course credit for their degree, and they'd get to spend all this time working with cancer patients one-on-one, right? They'd learn how to prescribe exercise interventions, learn how to work with them, and learn how to pay attention to changes in their disease progression, what medications they're on, and I mean, it's such a valuable experience. And a lot of students in our program, they try to go to physical therapy, for example, right? And you need clinical hours to get into physical therapy programs. And sometimes it's kind of hard to find, or it's a pretty competitive point of their application is to get clinical hours. So part of this program would be providing them with this internship and the clinical hours. And if they do decide to go to physical therapy, that's something that they have the opportunity to do. If they decide to go to a different master's program or graduate school or something else, right? They've got these clinical hours, then they get a certification on top of it. And it goes such a long way, right? Because so few students in the exercise and rehab realm get immediate clinical hours with a disease population. And it's really valuable. And then we get to be a part of this process where these patients go from, oh my gosh, I have limited time, to how do I make the most of my time? And to be part of that change or shift in perspective is like, it's the most special thing.
I can only imagine. So what's next? You've got this concept. Where could this facility be built? What kind of support, are you getting from the university system? Where are you in the whole development process?
So I am still learning in the development process. I'm applying for some smaller grants right now to hopefully build a facility on campus, or at least outfit a space that's already there to house some exercise equipment and some scientific machinery to do some of these studies.
But if somebody had like a warehouse available, it would just be a matter of designing a program, buying some of the research and tracking equipment, and then running a pilot program, right?
Absolutely.
Establishing the proof of concept, and from there going after bigger funding dollars to build out a larger facility.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're trying to start small. And so right now I'm working on some IRBs, some project proposals with the university to do some ocean water immersion with a healthy population first, and then work our way into a clinical population, hopefully working with cancer patients. So I've been reaching out to a lot of community organizations around the island that work with cancer patients and see if that's something they'd be interested in. And there seems to be a pretty positive response to that, right? People seem interested, and I mean, anyone that works in this space knows how important activity is to these types of populations. So it's promising.
If community partners, cultural practitioners, partners just kind of want to reach out and lend support or learn more, do you have an email address that you're comfortable sharing, or a website?
Yeah. I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. My email address through the university is ramani@hawaii.edu, or ramania, Romania, at hawaii.edu. So we are always looking for outreach and support, and the more the better, right? Because as soon as we get this going, we really want to be able to take off, and the quicker we can do that, the more we can provide this care.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with viewers today?
No, I think you've covered it, Ashley. Those are some wonderful questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to give you this opportunity to share a little bit more and to just watch this journey progress. Love the integration of innovation and showcasing how you can utilize culture within science in a very respectful way. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on this work.
Thank you.